Have you ever noticed how every time you get a raise, it feels like it will finally fix everything? You start daydreaming about all the things you will finally be able to afford. You will finally get ahead, save a little more, maybe even start investing. And then a few months later, you look at your bank account and nothing has changed. It is like the raise never even happened. You are still waiting for that moment when money finally starts to feel easier. But it does not. Somehow, no matter how much more you earn, it never feels like enough. And if you are being honest, it is starting to freak you out a little, because if you are making more than you were a few years ago, shouldn't life be easier by now? Should not you have more savings, less stress, maybe a bit of breathing room? But instead, you are still stuck in the same cycle. Paycheck comes in, bills go out, and the leftover amount somehow vanishes into thin air. The truth is, the reason most people stay broke even after getting a raise has nothing to do with how much they earn. It has everything to do with what they do next. My name is Michael, and I help people understand money the way school never did. No jargon, no gimmicks, no motivational nonsense. Just real talk about why your bank balance keeps betraying you and what you can actually do about it. If you have ever wondered why getting paid more never seems to fix your money problems, stay with me, because this one is going to hit home. Let us start with the first reason, lifestyle creep. You have probably heard the term before, but few people actually understand how sneaky it is. Lifestyle creep is what happens when your expenses quietly rise to match your income. You get a raise and suddenly, you are not making bad decisions. You are just treating yourself. You deserve a nicer apartment. You have earned that new car. You can finally start eating out without guilt. It all feels justified because, hey, you are making more now. Except what used to feel like luxuries start to feel like necessities. The new baseline becomes your normal. And before you know it, you are right back where you started, broke but with nicer stuff. Here's the part nobody talks about. Lifestyle creep does not feel like a choice. It feels like progress. And that is why it is so dangerous. It disguises itself as reward for hard work, when really it is just a more expensive version of the same trap. Here is where it gets interesting. That new apartment you just upgraded to, it does not actually make you happier after a few months. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Your brain adjusts to new pleasures quickly. That temporary rush of satisfaction fades, and you are left with a higher cost of living that feels ordinary. So the next time you get a raise, you chase another upgrade. A bigger place, a newer car, better clothes. It is an endless treadmill of trying to feel like you are moving up, but financially, you are just running in place. The result? You earn more, but your net worth stays exactly the same. The second reason most people stay broke after getting a raise is that they confuse income with wealth. These two things are not the same. Income is how much money comes in. Wealth is how much money stays. And those are two entirely different skill sets. Most people spend all their time and energy trying to increase their income, getting promotions, switching jobs, negotiating raises, and almost zero time learning how to manage what they already have. It is like pouring water into a bucket with holes in the bottom. It does not matter how much you pour in if it keeps leaking out. You know what is wild? Most people will spend more time researching a new TV or phone than they will understanding how compound interest or taxes actually affect their money. That is not a judgment. It is just how most people were raised. We were taught to work for money, not what to do once we have it. Here is the emotional part. Income feels powerful. It feels like progress. Saving and investing feel boring and slow. But wealth is not built through excitement. It is built through consistency. You will never earn your way out of bad financial habits. It is like trying to fix a sinking boat by rowing faster. The leaks still win in the end. The third reason people stay broke after a raise is that they do not adjust their mindset when their money changes. Look, earning more money does not automatically make you better with money. If you were bad with it before, you will just make the same mistakes with more zeros attached. That is why so many people who win the lottery or land big raises end up broke within a few years. The habits did not change, only the paychecks did. Here's a harsh truth. Your financial behavior is driven by identity, not numbers. If you still see yourself as someone who spends what they earn, you will do exactly that, no matter how much you earn. That is why when people say, I will start saving when I make more, it never happens. Because the behavior does not magically appear after a raise. The habits that build wealth need to start when it is inconvenient, when it feels too early. That is when they actually stick. The fourth reason, Most people upgrade their lifestyle before upgrading their systems. You get that raise and you think, okay, I have earned some flexibility, but you do not change how you budget, how you track, or how you automate your finances. So the extra money just disappears. You tell yourself, I will save what is left at the end of the month, but there is never anything left. Because humans are great at spending whatever is available. That is called Parkinson's Law. Expenses expand to fill the money that is there. The solution is brutally simple. Make the raise disappear. The day it hits your account, increase your automatic transfers to savings or investments by the same percentage as your raise. That way, you never feel richer, but you actually get richer. Most people do the opposite. They start spending more first, and saving becomes an afterthought. The irony is that if you simply kept your spending the same after a raise for just 1 year, you would be shocked at how quickly your financial cushion grows. The fifth reason, status pressure. This one hurts because it is invisible. The moment your income rises, you start comparing yourself to a new group of people. You are not competing with your broke college self anymore. You are comparing yourself to coworkers who drive Teslas, friends who just bought homes, or influencers who make normal life look like a luxury commercial. You start thinking, well, I can afford it now, so why not? Except affordability is not the same as sustainability. Just because you can does not mean you should. Keeping up with others is the fastest way to destroy every raise you will ever get. Most people do not realize this until they are drowning in debt trying to maintain a lifestyle that was not theirs to begin with. Here is where it gets crazy. We tend to spend our raises on things that look successful rather than things that make us successful. Expensive dinners, gadgets, vacations, deserved treats. But the real flex is financial freedom. You know what actually feels amazing? Not worrying about bills. Being able to take a risk, switch careers, or say no to a toxic job because you have savings to fall back on, that is real wealth. Everything else is costume jewelry. The sixth reason people stay broke is that they do not understand invisible inflation. Everyone knows prices are rising, but few people account for lifestyle inflation that happens naturally. The $200 dinner that used to feel extravagant starts to feel normal. The $1,200 phone you buy every 2 years becomes standard. Streaming services, gym memberships, coffee subscriptions, it all adds up. The world is quietly getting more expensive, and most people do not notice until their comfortable lifestyle suddenly becomes a paycheck-to-paycheck existence. The average person does not need a budget. They need awareness. Because once you actually see where your money goes, it becomes very hard to keep pretending you are just unlucky. The seventh reason, they mistake effort for strategy. Working harder does not automatically make you richer. If it did, nurses, teachers, and construction workers would all be billionaires. The truth is, your raise can only do so much if your strategy does not change. You cannot save your way to wealth if all your money sits in a checking account, losing value to inflation. You cannot invest effectively if you are too scared to learn about investing, and you cannot build long-term wealth if every raise gets absorbed by short-term comfort. Most people are exhausting themselves trying to make more money instead of learning how to make their money work. It is not about working harder. It is about shifting from earning mode to building mode. The eighth reason, most people never define enough. That might sound philosophical, but it is actually the root of the problem. If you do not define what enough means for you, you will always chase more. You will always assume that the next raise, the next job, or the next purchase will finally fix everything. But without boundaries, more becomes meaningless. Your goals expand faster than your income, and you never feel satisfied. Real wealth starts when you can say, "This is enough for me to live well," and actually mean it. Without that, no raise will ever be enough. The ninth reason, people overestimate their future selves. You tell yourself, next year I will save more, or once I pay off this card, I will start investing. But you will not, because future you is dealing with the same habits, the same temptations, and the same excuses. The best time to change your behavior is when you get a raise. That is the rare moment when your finances actually shift in your favor. If you automate savings, increase your retirement contributions, or start investing right then, you are locking in a habit before lifestyle creep takes over. Miss that window, and the raise just disappears into your new version of normal. The 10th reason, emotional spending disguised as self-care. This one is brutal because it sounds noble. You are not splurging, you are rewarding yourself. You are not overspending. You are taking care of your mental health. But here's the thing. Self-care is not meant to be an excuse for poor financial habits. If your version of self-care leads to anxiety when the credit card bill arrives, it is not self-care. It is self-sabotage dressed up in comforting language. Real self-care is paying off debt, building savings, creating stability, because nothing ruins your mental health faster than constant financial stress. The 11th reason, people focus on comfort instead of control. When your income goes up, your comfort increases, but your control does not, unless you make it intentional. Comfort without control is an illusion. It feels like progress, but it is just nicer handcuffs. The goal should not be to feel richer. It should be to feel in control. That is what real financial freedom looks like. The ability to decide, not react. And the 12th reason, they underestimate the compounding effect of small decisions. Every time you skip saving just this month, every time you say yes to a purchase you did not plan for, every time you delay investing because the market looks bad, you are compounding in the wrong direction. The same way compound interest builds wealth, financial neglect compounds poverty. It is not the big mistakes that keep people broke. It is the small, daily ones that feel harmless. Here's the part nobody tells you. Getting a raise is not the moment to celebrate. It is the moment to plan. It is the rare chance to reset your entire financial system before it catches up to your spending habits. The people who build wealth are not the ones with the biggest incomes. They are the ones who keep their expenses stable while their income rises. They lock in the gap between what they earn and what they spend. That gap, that is the secret. That is where every future opportunity comes from. That is where freedom lives. So where does this leave us? If you have been wondering why your raises never seem to change your life, it is because income alone does not fix money problems. Behavior does. The solution is not to make more, it is to manage better. To hold your line when everyone else upgrades theirs. To save first and let spending adjust, not the other way around. Because here is the truth. Money does not care how hard you work. It only cares how disciplined you are after you get paid. Look, I am not saying you should never enjoy your money. You worked for it. You deserve to live well. But living well and living wealthy are not the same thing. One gives you a moment of pleasure. The other gives you decades of peace. Every raise is a test of whether you will repeat the same habits or rewrite your financial story. Most people fail that test quietly. They never even realize it happened. But if you can resist that first wave of temptation, if you can keep your lifestyle steady while your income rises, you are already doing what 90% of people never will. You are building freedom instead of feeding inflation. So the next time your paycheck gets bigger, do not ask, "What can I buy now?" Ask, "How can I make this raise last forever?" Because that is the real game. Not looking rich, not flexing on anyone. Just quietly building a life where you never have to worry about money again. You do not need to look successful. You just need to stop being stressed.